Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Sometimes just making it to Tuesday is enough of an achievement, you know. Telling you. Okay, tonight we're going to be doing another page. We're actually going to be doing the first page of the MDF Art Journal. So, if you would like to share this live, I would very much appreciate it. If not, don't worry, you can still stay. And if you're catching up on YouTube, make sure you check out all the other amazing videos on here. Amazing, if I do say so myself. Okay, so like I say, tonight we're going to be doing some art journaling. And of course, if you'd like to craft along with me, that would be lovely too. So, let me know when you arrive. I'm just getting my phone up so I can look at comments. And we will go from there. Ooh, burnt on that. Okay. Say hello, give us a wave when you're here. Hello, Alison, darling, you alright? Okie doke. Right here. Should share it to all the places I know as well, shouldn't I? You know. So it's not just do as I say, not as I do. Okie doke. Good, I'm so glad you're starting to feel better. I'm in a bit of a downward spiral, truth be told. I can't sleep. I've got another thing in my ear. Well, not in my ear, another thing with my ear. It hurts. Yeah, but you know, still fighting the good fight and all that. Okay, I will repeat this again later, so I am sorry. The last week I did say what I was going to do is I was going to put together a playlist on the YouTube channel, which had just the MDF journal pages on it. So if it was just, for example, these projects you were looking for, you can go to the playlist section on the Bee Crafty YouTube channel. And there is an MDF journal section. Okay, so it is these. Alright, but I thought what I would do tonight is we would do the front page. Now, something I have done with the other ones is I've had the images stamped and ready. But what we're going to do is we're going to do that together. Okay, but first things first. Why do we say that? First things first. Because the first thing is always first. It's very difficult to put the second thing first, because then it's the first thing, not the second. Anyway. Abby, are you laughing at me? Yep, okay. Alrighty, so for the first page, now again, these ones, they were not necessarily gessoed or anything before, but this one has had a little bit of a white paint on it, and I'm very pleased about that, because what I'm going to use is I'm going to use this one. And I know what you're thinking, Bev, what on earth did you do to that piece of catalyst paper? In all honesty, I don't know. I think I ran it over with my chair. But because there's a lot of white space on it, now with your Bee Crafty catalyst papers, they will go slightly translucent. You can make them go completely translucent on the white sections where they're obviously not printed. But obviously that does mean if you have MDF behind, you are going to get a little bit of that come through. Now, because this has been primed effectively, we're going to be able to keep a lot of that whiteness look. Now, I've also been going through my doodle art, because that seems to be what we're using. And I haven't used the Dandy Daisy on a page yet. So I thought that is going to look lovely on here. So we can colour that in. We can even use the colours on the mount card as inspiration, was my thought. Excellent. Right, so let's crack straight on. Oh, throwing things around already. Marvellous, marvellous. I'm going to get my matte medium. And we're going to put... Oh, that's quite a lot, but that's okay. That's okay. Let me get a brush. I'm going to take some of the excess water off that. Okay. And we're going to make sure we cover the surface with our matte medium. And then I'm going to go on with our collage paper. So if you haven't seen the Catalyst papers before, do go and check them out. There are, at the moment, 4 different sets, 5 sheets in each. We are planning for more. And basically, they're just to give you a kick-off point. Or, for example, say you love doing the inky sort of techniques, but you don't want to get in a mess, or you don't have the inks to start off with. These are a great place to start. And they are made using, like the patterns on them, are made using Bee Crafty stamps and Bee Crafty Inkables. So they will coordinate with any of the Bee Crafty stamps products you have, which is great because it makes everything really easy. Now, like I say, if you have watched me do any of these other pages, okay, you can see how much whiter the Catalyst paper has stayed because it's primed underneath. Yeah? It just keeps that vibrancy to the white. So generally I don't prime when I'm coating it, the MDF. The Bee Crafty MDF is all FSC approved. Billy tries to keep it really clean so it doesn't have many scorch marks on it and all this sort of thing, and it's quite light. So I've got to be honest, it's just a step I generally take out. But if I am using lighter colours, for example, I want a vibrant yellow, I want the whites to show up, etc., do give it a quick go over with some white acrylic paint, some white gesso or something like that, because it will just mean you retain that vibrancy. Okay, so that can go to the side to dry for now. Alright, and while that's drying, we're going to stamp up our Dandy Daisy and colour it in. So I've got some white card here, just some scrap white card. Alright, and we're going to stamp up, yeah, so Alison, bless her, is doing the links because Sam's got a meeting tonight. And she's just done you the link for the Bee Crafty MDF journals. Now, if you follow that link, you will see that there are lots, well, several Bee Crafty MDF journals. So this is one of the mini journals with the rounded tabs. Okay, we also have those with a square tab, and we have them with more of an indented tab as well, like a notch out, like index card, receipt card type thing. So have a look. And then there's some bigger ones as well. So you're bound to find something that'll tickle your pickle. Okay. So we're going to stamp that on there. I absolutely love this daisy. I think it's so usable. I think it's got such a nice big head on it as well, that you can even use it on ATCs, things like that. I've actually used this twice already because I'd forgotten I'd used it. So I have actually used this twice already on the Bee Crafty deck. So although it's a really good size for bigger projects, I love using the head of it on small ones. You can layer it up and decoupage it as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Right, so I'm just going to tap that excess off. Then we're going to heat it. I have taken two, again, if you've been following the Try It Out Tuesdays and stuff recently, you'll notice that I have taken to heat embossing nearly all of my main stamped images. And the reason for that is, when I do the outline, I just stamp in a clear powder. Because I'm a nightmare for smudge marks. I leave smudge marks all the time, and it's annoying, basically. So I just use a nice fine clear powder, and then that basically sets the ink for me. I will say, you could use your embossing glazes, you could use everything. You don't need to have a specific powder for this, unless, you know, you want to. But I have found it be so good because it gives me more confidence just to crack on and colour in without worrying too much about the mucky fingerprints that I'm inevitably leaving behind. It's not good to say, I do it all the time. Okay, so I'm just going to grab me a blending mat out. All my big ones put to the side to be cleaned, which means they're not in reaching space and they're not clean. Okay, so like I said, I think with the papers we've chosen, these sort of colours are actually going to go really, really well. All right, so let's have a look and see what we can find. So we're going to need, I have lovely shelves for my Distress Oxide, but I leave them out so much. I think we need a mustard seed, and then although it's kind of a purpley hue on the paper, I'm wondering if more of a picked raspberry, well, that might be a way to go. Let me think. I'll tell you what, we've got our villainous potion here. We'll keep it. So I don't think that's the right one. Maybe a wilted violet. Not sure where my wilted violet is. And then obviously we'll need a green for the leaves, but we'll worry about that in a second. Okay. So Linda, you did the same one and used the same paper. That's fab. That's really cool. Do you know what? I already think that's a bit too pinky. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix some villainous potion with my picked raspberry. Okay. I'm going to get my mini mister. Give that a bit of a spritz. I'm also going to spritz the card. And again, because I've heat set it, I don't have to worry about the ink running or anything. Okay, so we're just going to, like I say, is this watercolour card? I hardly doubt it. I highly doubt it. So we're going to add a bit more of the pink in there. And then I'm going to kind of go quite big. I'm going to get a bigger brush with the mustard seed. Right, so I'm going to bring that in over the top of what's there. Really work that. Then a little bit, and like I say, it's not watercolour card, so it is pilling a little bit, but I'm not too worried about that. Okay, now I'll go back to a little brush. I'm adding some purple ones in there, and a little bit of a purple shadow from the villainous potion. And that section of the flower, and then we'll bring some more of that bright picked raspberry back in as well, I think. Maybe just a little bit. Up the sides of the petals. Like it's the pink sections that are reaching outwards. That's pretty. And then we'll take a little bit more of that yellow and bring some of that brightness back to the centre on the bits that still look white. Okay, and then we're going to get our rustic wilderness. Hello everybody that's joining in. The catalyst papers, Linda, aren't they just... They make doing things like this so much easier. Now, I did have someone contact me about the catalyst paper and say, is it something I can make myself? Absolutely. Using our stamping tissue would be what I would recommend. You can do that. But this is the thing, I do both. It's not a pick this or that. It's, do both. And if you saw my little tip for Monday yesterday on the social media, it's like your stash is only wasted if you don't use it. Lots of crafters, like I say, we've gone through there doesn't need to be a fish thing before, but lots of crafters are like, oh, my stash is being wasted. It's only wasted if you're not using it. So that's why you can't worry about whether what you're making is, forgive me for this, good enough. Because if you're using it and you're having fun with it, then it's completely serving its purpose. It is embracing its destiny and all that malarkey. Because that's all it has to do. Right, I'm going to give this a quick waft with my heat tool. And then that can finish drying while we get this back in. Now this is nearly dry, but I am going to give this a waft with the heat tool too. Now I do prefer to leave this to dry pretty much completely on its own. I just think you get a better all over adhesion. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously you can't press on it whilst you're drying it. So alright, and then this is the best way. You probably have all seen this done 100 times, but just in case. Because it gives you a perfectly smooth edge. I mean, my mum was teaching people to do this in workshops years and years ago, People are like, oh, I want a smooth edge, so I draw around it and cut it, and it's still not exactly the same size, and whatever. And I remember my mum teaching people to do this when I first started working with her at Bee Crafty in 2000 and long ago. Let's just say it was before the teenies. I think it was 2005. So it's always the way I've done it, because that's what the Queen Bee taught me to do. Okay? When you're covering anything, do it this way. I did a lot more scrapbooky stuff back in them days. Okay, and then I'm going to get my paintbrush, because I can't find my awl. And I've bought 3 in the past 2 years. I'm not buying another one. To get the holes for the book rings. You do get your book rings with your journals. You don't need to buy them separately. So that's something you don't have to worry about. Right, I'm going to do this first, because I always forget about it, and then I try and do it at the end when everything's already on there or wet. Okay, you see how I've got my faux stitch around the edge of each page? Right, so you can see that's missing a bit. That was obviously still wet, so that still needs finished. So I'm going to do it first, before we put anything else on there. So I don't forget it, and we can go all the way around. It's just one of those things that I've put in on every page. I've always enjoyed doing a faux stitch. Even when I was primarily scrapbooking, I did it all the time. I think it's quick, easy, and I just think it looks good. I just do. Which is weird, because I think it's why I actually like handwritten sentiments. I just don't like it done when I write them, because my writing is not the best, in my opinion. But, I know lots of people don't like their handwriting, so I'm not like, trying to say mine is better or better / worse or whatever than anyone else's. Okay. So here, we're going to add a little bit of inky work with a bigger template, I think. So let's go to... So first of all, I have to get this out first because it's actually in the way. So I did a picture yesterday saying I was putting all these back in order. Okay, so this is how I store my Inkables. That's my texture disc. Okay, so they're all in sets on clips. Now, I write the numbers on mine. Not necessarily because I think you should do that. It's all when I'm demonstrating with them, I know exactly which set they come from every single time. Okay, so that's all my Inkables in their sets. And then I've got my tag sets there, and then my texture disc sets there. See? There's crust have fallen down all around me, but my Inkables are in order. So there you are. And then I keep my 6x6 in a wider one, and I keep them in sort of like an alphabetical order. All right. So I think for this one, I'm going to take my coffee stain script 6x6. Okay. But on rings and labels, exactly. And I think that's the important thing. You've just got to find the way that works for you. So yeah, you can go on book rings, no problem at all. You've just got to find the way that works for you. So I'll keep my tags out as well, because we're definitely going to use one of those. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my blending brushes. And then I'm not going to sort of super load the brush with ink. I'm going to get my blending mat back. I'm just going to pick up the little bit of residue on there and see if that's going to be enough. Okay, because I want to just... Might not be, that might just be a little too little. Now I will say, through the text section, I always say you can use foams, brushes, and I mix and match which ones I use, but through the text you really need a brush. You really do. Because it's so fine. Okay, so we've sort of added that lovely text down there. I'll hold that up to show you a little bit. So it's just added another layer. All right. And then we need to pick which tag we're going to use to put our grit paste on. I am actually thinking that sort of lacy one from tag set 5. I think that's going to be lovely. You see, so I've used tags for all of these from the Inkables tags. But this one went a bit purpley because I put a lot of purple distress underneath, so it sort of lifted the colour. Again, which I like. I like the leafy one I used for that one as well. That's in tag set 4. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that lacy number. Okay. So, what I am going to do though is I'm going to get, this is quite a fine pattern. So to make my life easier, she says, I'm going to clip it on. And then I can concentrate. Just going to grab a pointy palette knife. And I'm going to get my grit paste. Now, I didn't realise, to be honest, how dried out my grit paste had gone until I got a new one It's all smooth like icing. But I don't want to waste the little bit of grit paste I still have left in here. So I've been trying to mix what's left in with some newer stuff. Might keep it wet. Okay, so I'm going to start in the middle. I think it might just be too dried out now, but you know what it's like, you can't. I think I'll just go for the new one. Oh yeah, see, that's much easier. And just turn your project round. Obviously, if you're working on something bigger, it's quite as easy to just turn it round all the time. But very similar to, you know, when you're cutting out and you turn what you're cutting and not the scissors. It's a similar thing with any project you're working on. You'll have seen me stamp sideways and stuff because it's easier than turning yourself inside out to stamp a big stamp. Okay. So we're going to take that there. And then we're going to lift that and I'm going to dunk it straight in my water. Look at all that lovely texture. Again, if you were using a blending, if you wanted to ink through that Dinkable, I would use a brush because there's lots of little details. But I will say, look at the dimension you get from the texture paste. You get some really good dimension, and that's because we still use 350 micron mylar. Now I'm going to carry on. I'm going to add some little white highlights to my Dandy Daisy while we talk about this. So I remember years ago, this is a long time ago now, so if you've heard this story before, I apologise in advance. Okay? Yeah, several years ago now, I was at a show and I was showing someone how you can emboss with our Inkables on a grand caliber, which, by the way, I still use. I still use a grand caliber to do embossing. And she was like, oh, that's brilliant. And I was like, yeah, it's because we use a 350 micron mylar. So you can emboss them on an embossing machine, like a die cutting machine, and you can also emboss them with texture paste or what have you. And this lady was very impressed, which doesn't surprise me because I'm always impressed with any sort of embossing, whether it's heat embossing or, you know, anyway, she comes back the next, because this was on Saturday, and she comes back the next day fuming because she tried it at home and it didn't work. So obviously I went through all the things. What sandwich did you use? Because I knew back in those days off the top of my head the sandwiches for all the available machines. If you have any machine, it's the same sandwich you would use for embossing a brass stencil, and they usually have those in the instructions. Anyway, so we got through and through and through. I said, right, okay. I said, do you have the template? And she said, yes, because I was returning. I wanted to return it. I said, okay. So she gives me the template, and it's not one of ours. And it was a really flimsy one. You know, which is fine if that's, you know, I'm not saying the design was lovely and all this sort of thing, but it was never ever going to emboss because the material it was cut out of wasn't thick enough. And I said, well, it's not one of ours. She said, but you said it would work. I said, no. I said it would work with ours because they're thicker. I said, I don't know what other people's will do. She said, yeah, but this was cheaper than yours. And I went, well, yeah, because it's thinner material. And you know when you're like, do you know what? And there did come a point where I was just like, okay. And I can't lie, I kind of gave up. Because I just didn't say anything. Kim's got the cuff too, and Helen. Oh dear, it's been a bit of a lurgy, this 100-day cough, hasn't it? And apparently even the people that have been lucky enough not to have it for 100 days have said it still felt like it. I'm just sick of having an earache. It makes me feel like a toddler. Okay. So I think that's going to go on there right nice. Okay. So I am just going to go in with my white pen and add in a few more white highlights. Just the little things that sort of make it your project. Now, like I say, the good thing about your Catalyst papers is because they've had Bee Crafty stamps and Inkables make them, you know, you can add more of your Inkables, you can add more of your Bee Crafty goodies to it, and it'll all just work. Okay, so I think that'll do for there. And then we're going to cut this out. And this is one of those I don't think takes a very long to fussy cut, because it is all sort of flowy lines and not too many intricate corners. So like I say, when you're cutting out, and they always say, oh, you don't need to tell me to cut out. Yes, but you know, the new people coming into crafting all the time, and that's what we want. You know, this is a fantastic hobby, and whilst the end product is not the goal, there's not many hobbies where you can actually have a usable end product at the end. I sat in my craft room last night until 10:15, stamping and cutting out. I was just having one of those evenings, and my mum had put me on to a Channel 4 documentary that she said I should watch. So then I'd watch one episode of it. So then I had to watch the rest, you know. So I sort of got stuck in a loop. I mean, nobody panic. I'd like fed the kids first and everything. So has everybody made their Bee Crafty deck for this week? I was going to say, if you haven't started yet, do not let that put you off. Instead of, if you haven't started, don't think, oh, they're on week 11. Think, oh, they're only on week 11. You know, if we were making a thing a day, then yeah, I'd understand. You know, because that's 70 days, isn't it? But it's not. It's only 11 things. Well, it's only 10 things, really, because you've still got another 5 days before you'd be behind on week 11. I'm going to come back into that corner in a minute, actually. I'm just going to cut all that off rather than try and move around it. So yes, so this week it's all that glitters, so I want you to add some glitter. Now, I can't lie, my glitters tend to be put away as soon as December hits, because whatever I haven't made for Christmas by mid-December isn't getting made anyway. And I do I almost save my glitteriness for that time of year. So I thought it might be fun to add in some March glitter. So I used Stickles glitter gel through a template and through my 6x6 Arrows Inkable. And I used a Twinkly Ranger embossing powder as well. Which I really loved. It actually made me think, oh, maybe I shouldn't restrict myself to winter glitter, you know. Okay, I'm just going to round off those two a little bit more. And you see when that goes on there, look at that. It's meant to be. Sarah, you don't like glitter, but you'll break it out for this. Ah, yes. So what does that mean, my darling? It means you don't like glitter, but you do have some. Hashtag, just saying. All right. So then we're going to put some gel medium onto our painted Dandy Day. Painted with Distress, which is actually my favourite kind of painting. I do sometimes feel I'm not very brave when it comes to colours, because I like to use coordinating colours. You know when you see crafters and they'll do the background like this and then they'll put, I don't know, a blue thing on or something, and it doesn't appear anywhere in the background. I sometimes feel like I should be more like that, but here we are. Right, also a running theme that I'm doing with these, and the problem is once I've done it on 2 or 3, that's it, I'm committed then for the rest of the project. We're using WORDY stickers. Oh, there we go. See, I'm straight into WORDY stickers. The time is now. So I think that is very nice for the front of the journal. The time is now. I'm going to just tuck it. We need a little bit of matte medium. I do not rely on the stickiness of the stickers. Okay, you don't need to worry about the ink on your WORDY stickers because it is all laser on, so it won't run if you use an extra adhesive to stick it on. And obviously that'll all dry matte because we're using the matte medium. Okay, so, oh yes, my current thing when I finish is I balance on there so you can see what we've made together. I absolutely love it. I won't lie, I've sort of avoided doing the front page because you feel like if you do the front page it's terrible. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? And then the last time we did a page together on this, I did this one, which I absolutely loved and was like, I should have done the front page because I really, really like it. But I think that works. I'm so chuffed. And as you can see, you can really use your Doodle Art cards for the inspiration for your colouring. Not only are we okay with that, we actively encourage it. Okay, because again, it gives you a leaping off point. Use that as a catalyst. All right. Noella, so many layers. Yeah, but that's the thing, darling. There actually isn't. All that's on there, I know you came in a bit later, all that's on there is your catalyst paper, a little bit of Inkable script, and your grit paste. Do you know what I mean? It looks like so many more layers than it is because the catalyst paper has done the work for you. Okay? So this will also be added to the MDF journal playlist on YouTube, so you'll be able to look back and see all 5 of these pages being made, and obviously I will carry that on for when we do the other sides. Okay. Oh, can't talk. So right, you're gonna laugh at me here because it's only March, all right, but obviously I don't want to do these constantly, but I think if we can get this finished, is that it sounds before Christmas, bearing in mind I have to do a lot of other things as well, all right. I think get this finished before Christmas, and bear in mind I also want, I wouldn't mind getting my little book with my little pages done before Christmas, but because these are so small, hang on, let me move that to the side. Because these are so small, I do tend to do these on reels and things like that, so I think this should be easier if I did a page a week in here, which is still a lot. I am a bit behind. All right, so I think it's good to have a target. Okay, so that's the Dandy Daisy. So we've used the dragonfly, the dancing daisy, the butterfly, the sunflower, and now the Dandy Daisy. So I wonder what will be next. All right then, my lovelies, thank you so much for joining me. Have a fantastic rest of your evening. I now have to go and try and make fondant shamrocks. So, have a great time. Bye.